kids are going to be getting, and rightly so. How important have your veterans been through these two games? Your older guys, the core guys.
Yeah, I mean both games it's been massive, and I know there's been a lot of attention on the young guys, but you look at what the veterans have done as well. In terms of production, in terms of on the defensive side, the situational usage. I mean, they've been out there for all of that. You look at the special teams here tonight, playing a major factor there in the game. You look at. I think it was a lot of guys that were involved in that. Sid, Gino, in terms of their production there on the power play. And I think that whole unit there with Rax and Carl and Letang, those were big moments in the game. And so, and then also on the penalty kill, and then you got some guys that have, again, older players there, in terms of guys that are out there that are killing. The whole D-core, I think, played a role in those situations. Dewey and Lizzo there getting pretty big minutes, Chari, Rax, and so you go through that list. So those are guys there that have, you got the big three, but you also have a lot of other veteran players too, guys that have been in the league that are making big contributions right now.
Philip Hollander, he went from a scratch last game to playing with Sid by the end of this one. Just what did you see from him out there tonight?
He looked like he was going there, and so it was, I thought that 5-on-5, I felt like we could generate a little bit more, and so, we looked to make a switch. And, I thought actually, I thought the third period, it was a little bit better there in terms of some of the stuff we were looking to generate at the 5-on-5 standpoint. And so that was, that's what we went with.
Dan, is Brazo scoring a surprise per se? Because that's not exactly his rep, but he's making some pretty nice plays out there.
No, based on the first game, we were hoping to get 2 tonight. So, no, not at all. I mean, I know that if you go back last year, like towards the end of the season there, after the change, he wasn't scoring at the same rate, but like we see a guy who's he's got really good hands, really good around the net, and then you can also score off the rush. He's got good instincts that way. He's a player that size, when they can get to the inside, whether it's him at the net front, last game you saw it off a face-off play or a face-off, and then tonight you saw it there on a really good play off the rush, but he's getting to the inside, and to be that size with those types of hands, when you can get into those areas, that's tough to handle. And he's playing well. I thought he was another guy too, though. It's not a big surprise for us. I think is like you saw it day to day there just in training camp. His practices were good. I thought he was working. He was putting himself in good areas, and so I think this has been a continuation now. Of the work you put in there during training camp.
Dan, Tristan Jarry, a lot of scrutiny on him as always. He faced a pretty strong barrage there late in the game, held firm. What was your assessment of his full 60 minutes?
No, I think I'll start by just going off of that first comment. There was a lot of scrutiny. I heard about that, but this is a new year. This is a clean slate for a lot of guys. So I don't know. I mean, I thought he played great. You look at the end of the game, that's a tight game. You look at some of the saves that he made there in the third period, and so I said it this morning. He was trending up. He earned this opportunity to go in, and so it's a new year, and where things and I said that for everybody too. That maybe there was scrutiny before. It's a new season. It's a fresh start. He trended up during training camp. I felt like he earned the right to, and I say felt he earned the right to get a game early. He didn't start the first one. Seagulls gets a shutout, and we wanted to stick with it because he earned that based on the camp that he had and the way he finished camp. And there were some massive moments there in the third period that he came up with big saves and helped make sure that this team secured those 2 points.
Yeah, that's 5 points in 2 games for Gino now, obviously playing at a pretty high level to start the season. What do you see in his game that you like, and what has it been like getting to know him and coaching him in the first few months of your time here in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I think he's been great. You see a player like him for so long, from afar, and then, you coach against him, for me it was a number of years, and then to get a chance to work with him every day, I feel like he's been really working on both sides of the puck. The offensive production has been great, and I think he's feeling good there with the puck right now. Around the net, making plays. I think both games there. He's been involved in just a lot of chances. But he's also and this hasn't just been in games, but even in practice. The way he's working off of the puck. I think it's been really good, and so. Yeah, I think he's a guy too he's earned some trust to be in a lot of different situations, him and his line. So.
I know there's an element of symbolism or symmetry to how you deploy the starting lineup in Madison Square Garden with the young kids going out with the veterans, but from a functional standpoint, the way it came together on the ice tonight, to see the vets a couple times and to see all those young guys get their firsts together on that goal, what was that like to see, and can you speak to how that yin and yang has worked out for you so far here?
Yeah, it's try to mix it up there sometimes in the lineup. Obviously, these first games, it's a little different. I don't know if it's going to be something we're always mixing up the lines there to start. I don't think that's the intention. I think you got two pretty special nights there. The opening night with the two guys playing their first NHL game, and then you got the guys playing in their 20th season together, and then you come back home and the celebration behind that, and so we just felt like it would be something to, I think, tip our hats to those guys, and they should be out there starting. I think I knew it coming in. I think we all know it. I think it's a really, there's a blend there in terms of, us having some guys that have been playing at this high level for so long, especially, three that are together, and then the young guys that are coming up, which, we didn't know coming into training camp exactly how this roster was gonna play out. We let that happen on its own. We gave guys opportunities, and obviously right now we do have a number of young players, and so, it is good to see how that's starting to come together, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and everything you saw out there tonight. It's hard to win in this league, and so you're going to take it. Every night is going to be a grind, and I think for everybody, anytime you can go out there and earn those 2 points, we're going to take it. But I think you also see a lot of things there that we're going to be able to continue to build on, and I think honestly for me that's the really exciting part.
Couple more, Dan, on the left.
Dan, I think defensemen had almost half of the team's shots tonight. What are your conversations like with the defensemen in terms of activating, but also with the lead in the third period? Does the message change at all?
I think you got to look at, there's different parts of a third period. It's for me it's when you start a third period, if it's a tie game, I'm not one to say we're going to totally change things to start a game. I think when you get towards the end of a third period with a lead, that's when you might make some slight adjustments. I've just found that if you try to go too far on one side of it, then you start really sitting back and being on your heels, and so it's not really for me going to change too much there, especially early in the third. And I think you always have to have balance. I do like when the defensemen are involved. We like it when the defensemen are involved. I think there is a balance to it. You have to have people that are covering for you as well. And so I think there's responsibilities when it comes to that stuff with both for the defensemen and where they're going, but also on the forwards and their recognition of it.
Last one, out on the far right.
Dan, Harrison Brunick got his first NHL goal, but I want to ask you about his defensive work over the last couple of games, just when you kind of assess how he's played on that side of the puck. What do you think he's done in H19?
I think it's been good, and I think it's he's continuing to learn, and I think that's an early part of all. This is part of all this. Even going back to training camp, it's all right, what you can't expect a player his age or Kendall's age to come in here and they're so far from being a finished product, and that's what makes them exciting, and so they need to be in some situations to learn from. We need to be sitting down and working with them off the ice in terms of reviewing things and teaching them some of those details that you're probably you can look at it, you can work on, but until you're really in this type of an environment, it can be harder to truly understand, and now they're living it. And so, I think it's going to continue to grow. So I think there's a really good base there, really good starting point. Like he has been, and he's going to continue to have, a lot of work and conversations there with Mike Stuthers, especially, who works with our defenseman, who does a great job, and I think that part of the game is just going to continue to evolve.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.